Hey guys, today I'm going to show you, I'm going to plan, I'm not really going to plan with you, I've already planned. I'm going to show you what I have planned for the week. I'm not going to go through most of my kids' individual subjects like I normally do with a weekly planning video, because for the most part, it's just the same old thing. I'll show you a couple things that I've pulled for my son, just because some of his stuff is changing as he's finishing things up. Mostly I'm just going to show you what I have for kind of our group work, or things we do as a family or things we do together. So I have a clipboard written for every morning, and essentially what that is, my daughter, that's when she does her Matthew C. And then she also, both the kids have a page from Practice Voyage, and they do this, sometimes we do it together, or sometimes they do it and then we go through it together. But I found it's really beneficial for us to kind of talk through it, especially there's just certain things that I think are more difficult to label, like the direct object, and some things like that, subject complement, which are still, I guess, relatively new to them. So we tend to do this as a group right now, and I will go back into Grammar Voyage and kind of reread the section on direct object if we're having trouble finding it, or subject complement or something like that. So that's part of their clipboard work. And then my son also, I added a word ladder for him. This is new this week. And then he does the a math sprint from Dimensions Sprints. So that's pretty quick, kind of that clipboard work. It doesn't take them too long to get through. And then usually that's it for kind of group work in the morning. I try to keep that short because their individual work takes a lot of time. But this week, I'll probably regret doing this, but this week I have added in just a couple of other things, because our Friday group work has been getting really, really heavy and taking way too long. I'm trying to take the load off this a little bit. And so I've added in just some short daily readings to maybe help that. So this is a book that we are going to be reading just throughout the month for Black History Month. I shared this in a recent library haul, but I already have it marked. We're just going to read a couple pages real quickly in the morning just to get through this book and not leave it all to just do on one day. Same with our immigration unit study. I have this pulled for Friday, and I'll show you, can I show you? I don't know if I have everything here yet. I'll show you a little bit of what we're gonna do with this on Friday, but for the chapter that we're going to be doing this week, chapter 2, it's a lot to read all of this on Friday, so I just have it tabbed off. I'm gonna read a couple pages every morning so that it's just prepares us for Friday, and we can do a little more work with it on Friday. So I have that ready to go. And then we finished Big Ideas, and we've moved on to the Short and Curly Guide to Life. But again, this is a lot of reading to do one day a week, which is what I have it scheduled. So what we did last week and what we're going to continue this week, I'm not reading this out loud, but what we do is every morning, kind of during that clipboard time, we each individually read a few pages. We mark off here once we've read it, so I know that everyone got it. And then Friday, we will kind of go back through, now that we've all read it, talk about the thinking questions, and any activity that I want to do with it, we will do on Friday. But that's just to kind of help set us up for success on Friday. We'll see how that goes, if that adds too much time to our day during the week or not. We're kind of testing that out this week. So that's pretty much what I have planned for the mornings during the week. Thursday, we have that, but we also have co-op. We have started a new read aloud. We finished The Story Collector, and so we have started I Can Make This Promise. We do the audio of this usually, but I always have the book on hand because sometimes I have a kid who wants to read along while we listen. But typically we've been doing this in the car on our way either to or from co-op, And then also we've been doing it on Fridays when we do our state studies. So we have, that plan has been working, and so we are now on to this book. So that's pretty much our mornings during the week. So then on Fridays, nothing's really changed here. I'll just show you what I have kind of pulled for this week. My kids have their Friday folders where I've got work in there for them to do. That's pretty much the same as it is every week. This week, we're really kind of behind on, we've been alternating our Atelier art DVD and scrapbooking our Ohio history scrapbooks. And that's the one thing that when Fridays have been running long that I've just been cutting. So we're behind, but this week it is my hope that we're going to scrapbook our trip to the McKinley Memorial. So I just grabbed a book about McKinley from the library because my kids do tend to like to write some facts or information within their scrapbook page. So I have that to aid them in that. Grammar Voyage, there's nothing to show you there. Short and Curly, like I mentioned, we will do the readings throughout the week. I also made these little, I just copied these out of the book and kind of enlarged them and laminated them. These are like these are the pieces of the ethical toolkit, which you use when you're kind of assessing and evaluating different situations. So I just thought that would be nice to have kind of something physical that we can kind of reference when we're talking to remind us of the different things there. So we just did the introduction part last week. So this week we're on to our first real chapter, which is about lying. And so like I said, once we get to Friday, we will have all read all of this, and then we can kind of review and talk about it then. So that's kind of the plan for Friday. With that, what else? Our brain food, we've been doing all right with that. Last week, I cut it. We couldn't get it done. So we are a week behind in that, but that's kind of, it doesn't matter. This is not something we're on a strict schedule with. But what we're moving into this week is the biography project. So on Friday, we will just be kind of reading through lesson 12. We will probably do lesson 12 and lesson 13 so that they can pick their person, set their goal, take their notes, I think is what we will do with that. So that will involve a trip to the library, possibly, depending on who they want to do and what book they want to use. If we have something here, that's fine, but likely that will involve a trip to the library. Our creative writing, they're just working on another paragraph in it, their third paragraph, which is kind of their last paragraph, and then we'll move on to their conclusion. And then we will move further on in the process. But as far as like editing and rewriting and things like that and figuring out how they're going to lay it out, there's still a lot more steps in that process. So anyway, but that's what we're doing. That's where we are with it for Friday. Our states are Massachusetts and New Hampshire. And I've kind of talked about our state studies before, so I'm not going to pull that to show you. And then our immigration unit studies. So the chapter we're doing in here is chapter 2. And as I mentioned, I will read aloud a couple pages every day during the week. But this chapter is kind of on how people get to America and kind of the gatekeepers of that entrance. And so I've just got some notes here of things that I would like to do. I shared this picture book, The Wall, in the middle of the book. We already read it once, actually, so far. And I returned it to the library. I think we're going to read it again because the activities in the back kind of relate to the border wall. So I think that would be a good picture book to read again. And then I also have this book, which I also shared in a recent library haul. And this is just a picture book about that you could relate to immigration. It's about this land of polar bears, and only polar bears are allowed. And this penguin kind of floats in and wants to stay. And anyway, I thought it would be just a fun book to read to lighten up kind of this heavy topic. And then I have found a couple videos that I want us to watch. One about kind of the story behind the United States and Mexico wall. And then there's also a crash course on graffiti art, because the activity here relates to kind of graffiti and art on the wall. And then we're going to do this little project here where you basically decide what you think, excuse me, what you think about the wall. And you write kind of a statement to communicate your opinion of the border wall. And then you come up with ways that you can artistically represent your idea and draw, paint, sketch, whatever. So that's kind of what we're going to do with that. And I don't know, I really like this idea as well. I don't know that we're going to do it though. I think we're just going to do this one. But this one references this poem. He was Arizona's poet laureate from 2013 to 2015. And he has a poem called The Border. And it talks about relating that to other kinds of borders, visible and invisible borders, like look at your school, talking about cliques, things like that. And so I think this would be really cool, but I don't think we're going to do this one. I think we just don't have enough time, so we're going to focus here on that one. So that is the plan for our immigration unit study on Friday. Power of the People, we'll just do the next one, which we did end this week, so, or this past week. So we will be on to O, which is our bodies, ourselves. And each of my kids have their little notebook of the activity pages. So typically, this is just my teacher copy, but let me see here. All right, so we will do the activity. We will watch the crash course video. We will discuss. And then they do some of the supplemental learning. Usually they do the vocabulary and then the questions. And they will want to do this, the Mad Lib, and then we'll do these pages here. So I don't really have to plan much for that. Sometimes I pre-watch the videos just to make sure, just to make sure they're a good fit for us. So anyway, and then our read aloud, like I said, we will listen to this when we do our state studies. And I think that that's everything for kind of our group subjects or family work. My daughter's work throughout the week, nothing's really changed. That would be very repetitive for me to show you her planner and what I have written in there because it's literally pretty much the same as last week. My son's is mostly the same, except for he has now finished his Hearth and Story literature and he has finished social studies. This week he will finish up history. So we'll add more in, the following week. But for this week, we're just going to start to add in his beekeeping unit, which is one we got from Hearth and Story. And I will do a whole video if you're interested on kind of what the plans are for that and how I'm building it out, but not all of my books are here yet. So we're just beginning this week, and we're just going to do the first 2 modules here. For this one, I'm using one of their primary unit studies. But when I bought this, they were buy one, get one free, so I also bought the patchwork study. So I will pull in a few pieces and parts from the patchwork, but for the beekeeping unit, I really like the primary unit study. So we are going to do the first module, which is the diversity of bees, and it goes through all the different types of bees. And I have some books on hold from the library, but they're not here yet to hopefully kind of support this. I did pull this from the patchwork study. I don't know that I'll have him do this specific one, but I think that this can help guide him in the activity that I want him to do at the end. So they give you notebooking prompts and activity ideas. We're only going to do one. We're going to create a colorful chart comparing honeybees, bumblebees, solitary bees, and stingless bees. Include fun facts, favorite foods, where they live, and their special skills. So that's going to be kind of the activity that he does for that one. And then for module 2, it's about bee anatomy. So these are the only 2 modules we're going to do. Again, this is something I pulled from the patchwork study. So we'll do this module and then the activity. Again, I just picked one. I picked a notebooking prompt, and this says, imagine bees are superheroes. Describe their superpowers related to their anatomy, like super strong legs for carrying pollen or a super long tongue for sipping nectar. So that's kind of what we'll work through. I feel like that will give him the best opportunity to work through the information and recall what he read. So that's mostly what we have planned, what I have planned for him for that. And then I have a novel that we're going to read to go along with it. And we're just going to read the first 2 chapters. Here I've kind of read through already and made some notes. And I really debated if I should buy a novel study for this from Teachers Pay Teachers. There's one that looks kind of good, but it's also pretty expensive. So I think that we're just going to maybe do some a narration or something of this in our notebook where we're doing our work on our module. That's what I'm thinking right now. So at any rate, that's kind of what I have planned to introduce this this week for him. And then the only other thing that's a little bit different outside of his norm for this week is his writing. And so I did a whole video on kind of where we are with writing for 4th grade, but we've made our way to Hearth and Story now, and he's been working on a 5-paragraph paper about jobs that he finds interesting. And we built that off of the last writing assignment he did in the IEW People and Places in Our Community. So he's already written, he wrote about 1 job there, and then from there we took it and he wrote it out to talk about 3 different jobs that he finds interesting. And so that's kind of what he's worked through the past week or so. And we are now in Hearth and Story to the kind of revising and editing process. And so I want to kind of pause and work a little bit more slowly through this process. I want him to be really solid on being able to write a 5-paragraph paper. And so as we go through this editing process, I have pulled in, let's see, we have this Right Source book, which I talked about in another video, and this does have a section in it that we have utilized a bit. It only goes through 2 paragraphs though, and so I want to build off of what we did in here and what we did in here. And I have this pack from Teachers Pay Teachers. This creator has a lot of really, really good writing resources if you're looking for something that you can just like have a digital copy. It's the Teacher Next Door. And so I'm going to be using some pieces from this pack on informational writing, and we are going to work through these as we go through and edit each portion of his paper. So as we're editing his introduction, we're going to go through and do this little pack on the introduction. As we go through, like these 3 packs here are for the introduction. As we go through his body paragraphs, again, we will pull this in, same for the conclusion. So we're going to take our time through this editing process because I want this, I don't want to rush it, and I want him to really have a good, strong foundation in writing this length of a paper. So that is what my plans are for this coming week for his writing, and then also for his unit study, which is kind of covering his literature as well as some science and things like that. So that is it. That's what I have to share for you for my planning process for the coming week. If you have any questions, I would love to talk to you down in the comments.